Yes, people, welcome back to another daily transfer roundup. Still not a huge amount happening in the way of players going in or out. We're starting to hear little bits about Sergio Gomez, about Ederson. If I'm being totally real with you lot, I don't imagine a huge amount will happen until after the Euros tournament ends, because players are pretty well preoccupied, aren't they? Or even Copa America as well. They're pretty occupied with their international duties. But as far as our manager situation goes, that is a highly anticipated decision, which Pep Guardiola is quite clearly in the process of making right now. And for those of you who watch consistently our streams, you will know that myself and Joe have spoke a lot about how that trip to Abu Dhabi that Pep went on would be somewhat crucial in his decision making and his thought process in whether he wants to extend or stay beyond 2025. Now, I still remain under the impression, and my general feeling is that Pep will leave in May 2025. But I don't think it's signed, sealed, and delivered. I don't think it's finalized. I don't think it's done deal. He's gone, and we're gonna get an announcement anytime soon. I think the club will pull out every single stop they possibly can to get him to extend for even one more year. Because look, is your OCD kicking in like mine is? You know, he'll have completed 9 years come May 2025. Just hit the 10 mark. Do you know what I mean? Just so we can say we had Pep for 10 years and how amazing that will be, and so on and so forth. I'm not even too desperate for Pep's remaining 2 seasons to be, trophy studded, trebles and quadruples, and maybe go for an invincible season. I think we've seen it all. We've done it all with Pep Guardiola, but anything's possible. That the longer he stays at the club, you never put anything past that man, and the club are well aware of that. So look, when Pep, Tiki, and Ferran Soriano went out to Abu Dhabi last week to meet up with Khaldoon, we were told before he went out, but as I said, it's more than likely to meet the Sheikh. Why would he go to Abu Dhabi just to meet Khaldoon when they're both based in Manchester anyway? He did meet the Sheikh. He presented the Sheikh with his 4th Premier League in a row. So I'm pretty sure the Sheikh was happy with that, and I'm pretty sure Sheikh Mansour understands the severity and importance of keeping Pep Guardiola. And I have been eager to know how those conversations went, how the club, how those running the club proposed the future to Pep Guardiola, what kind of terms they offered Pep Guardiola. And by terms, I don't mean as simple as a financial increase. I'm sure that goes without saying that if Pep was to extend, a financial increase would or a pay increase would have to be implemented regardless. I'm just talking about the project, the trajectory, how much more Pep feels he has within himself to keep going, and how much more he feels he can get both out of this squad and the club. You know what I mean? And when I say the club, I mean what they can do for him to continue building on this squad. Because look, if you watch these daily transfer videos, you know exactly what I mean. I think this squad needs some reinforcements, but that's a different topic for a different day. We might talk about Rodri tomorrow, because there's a lot of concern over Rodri's health, I suppose, and welfare right now, and how much he's playing. Today's about Pep, and Tolme, of course. Tolme, who's a very I think reliable. I think he knows his stuff. I think he knows people connected to the club. He spoke about it today. He says there is a growing feeling from employees within the CFG that Pep can be persuaded to sign for a 10th year. The visit to see the owner has clearly changed the mood music around him. So, as I said, I thought that Abu Dhabi meeting was going to be absolutely crucial to the future of Pep Guardiola. And if what is being said is true, it obviously had some sort of positive effect from a fan standpoint. You know what I'm saying? Whatever they offered him, whatever they proposed to him, I'm sure that has filtered its way down through at least some aspects of the club, the board, and the CFG, because it's not just important the club keep Pep at Manchester City for as long as possible. Even when he does leave Manchester City, when that awful day inevitably comes, they're going to want to keep him in the CFG as best as possible. That's why you're seeing rumours about Pep potentially ultimately going to New York and taking the job there. New York, obviously, a sister club of Manchester City, be it CFG, and so on and so forth. He has a daughter that lives out there. He's lived in New York before. I believe he said before it's his favourite city in the world. So it seems to line up nicely that Pep, if he wants to continue managing directly after he leaves City, that he goes to New York and lives the high life over there. But the benefit for us from that aspect is keeping him in the City Football Group, keeping him within our organisation. He's on hand for advice. He's there for help when needs be, and he can essentially not be a sporting director, but have a huge influence in the DNA, the ethos, and the values of what the City Football Group are trying to achieve right the way through all the however many clubs it is we own now, 16, 17 throughout the world. Because look, when you get a personality and a manager as good and as influential as Pep Guardiola, you have to make the most of it. You simply have to make the most of it. Unfortunately, through the hard groundwork our ownership and our board have put in for the past 15 odd years, we have an infrastructure that can offer Pep Guardiola something that he may want to be a part of longer term. Maybe a sporting director role or a board type role is something he may want to take up in the future, because he's completed the club game. He's definitely completed the club game. I don't know, is international football something that he genuinely wants? But as far as us, that club, Manchester City, goes, a 10th year it's a possibility. And there's a growing feeling within the CFG that he can be persuaded. So as I said at the top of this video, it's not signed, sealed, delivered. It's not confirmo, here we go, that Pep is leaving 2025. I think if Pep was leaving and it's done deal, he's not to be persuaded in 2025, I think we would know. I think for some reason, I think we would know by now. I think the club would make it clear they are beginning preparations for Pep's exit, beginning for the life after Pep, what that project will look like, managerial candidates, what kind of influence Pep can have on who's on the club post his tenure, if that makes sense, the style of football, the philosophy, who suits best, what way is the club going to be left? Because when Pep does leave Manchester City, he's going to leave a lot of work to be done. There's going to be a lot of, loose ends. There's going to be players may decide, Pep's leaving, I'm going to leave. It's going to make life more difficult for us in the transfer market. That's why I've been kind of apprehensive about, real news coming out about it this summer, because I don't want Pep's future to impact any potential incomings we make this summer, if you kind of get where I'm coming from. But it's going to leave a lot of work to be done. I also wonder, does a potential 10th year for Pep indicate to a potential another year from Tiki? Because there's been growing feeling, and my own growing feeling is that Tiki and Pep will leave at the same time. They're best mates. They're two peas in a pod. They worked together at Barca. Tiki brought him to Manchester City, and it's been a successful relationship. But look, I think this is good. Obviously, this there's nothing concrete about this either. This is just news that there's a growing feeling within the club that Pep will stay, or he can be persuaded to stay for a 10th year. And I think that's the best way to go about it. Like I've said before, I don't think there's any benefit to offering Pep a 5-year contract or even a 3-year contract, because you're making him commit to contracts that are too long. You're making him commit to time frames that are too far down the road, when he's obviously at a point where he's like, look, I'm kind of just taking it year by year. So the best way to approach it is give him a 1-year extension and say, look, at the end of that, we can sit down again in Abu Dhabi, see where you're at, and essentially leave the ball in his court. Make him feel comfortable that his own future is well and truly in his hands. Because as I said in a video about a week ago, he is the kind of guy that when he signs a contract for however long, he generally he reinforces a lot by saying he wants to fulfill the contract. If he signs a 4-year contract, he wants to do the 4 years. If he signs a 1-year contract, he wants to do the 1 year, and so on and so forth. So look, if City can get Pep to stay for a 10th year, 10 amazing years. You know what I mean? Imagine that, 10 years of Pep Guardiola. Wow. And everything we've already done and everything we could potentially do between now and his departure. So look, it's nice to read these things. Am I getting carried away with myself over it? No. Have I heard anything myself further beyond what I heard before about him, Tiki and Fran Soriano leaving? No. But I'm just letting you guys know what the sort of updates are and what the rumours are. That's the whole purpose of these videos, isn't it? So listen, leave your thoughts down below on this and what you think the club maybe said to him in Abu Dhabi to make some wriggle room for persuasion. I think that's kind of what they were looking for, isn't it? They're looking for some sort of room for manoeuvre to persuade him to stay and do some sort of a U-turn on a potential decision he'd previously made. So leave all your thoughts down below. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you tomorrow with hopefully some bigger and better updates. In a bit, people.